Hello, it's Jane here and welcome back to Borrow My Brain. Now, if you haven't listened to any of the previous sessions, then look around this video here. There's going to be a button that you can click to go and check those out. Now, I started the Borrow My Brain series during the COVID-19 pandemic because I wanted to be able to give people a sense of confidence and clarity about their property investing decisions and the property market as well. So this is usually something that I just reserve for my pre-approved mortgage clients or for my mentoring students. So usually I have their financials, I know their situation, and I have been able to work with them on their goals and their vision of what we're trying to work for. So this is a little bit different, and I have to say that this information that I give just all comes back to my methodology of low risk property investing. So what does the majority of the market need and want? How does that fit into your circumstances, and how that you can apply those learnings so that you too can make low risk property investments that are going to actually be able to achieve the cash flow or growth that you need to get to your goals. So please take the Borrow My Brain series as information only. I can't look at everyone's financial situation and know exactly what to do, but I'm trying to give a little bit of guidance here on how you too can look at your own situation and have a chance to look at what other investors are doing and the questions that they're asking. So I hope you enjoy this series. If you'd like to apply for Borrow My Brain, then you'll probably see a link around here as well that you can click on. Now, in today's Borrow My Brain, we have a really interesting question. Giuseppe sent me in a query about a block of units that he has in Melbourne. And he has a plethora of choices of what he can do with this block of units. So we look at development, we look at a minor development, we look at renovation. But as always, it just comes down to the numbers. What does the typical market want? Is there capacity to make money? How risky would it be to do the development or the renovations? And so I think you're really going to enjoy it. Giuseppe is a very experienced investor, has a number of properties, he has done developments, he's done renovations, but at the moment he's just stuck on knowing what to do with this property. So I hope you enjoy the series with Giuseppe today. Hello and welcome to Borrow My Brain. Now today I have Giuseppe with me, and Giuseppe sent through a question on the Borrow My Brain application, and I thought it was something that a lot of people might have in their mind or something they're considering. So Giuseppe, over to you. Tell me, how would you like to borrow my brain?
Yeah, thanks, Jane. So my name is Giuseppe, and I've been following Jane for a long time. So I find, all the stuff that you put on Facebook, on your website, extremely helpful. So I'm really, keen to chat to you about my existing property. So I think that's a great opportunity for me to pick your brain today.
Oh, good. Now tell me about this property. Is this a home or an investment? What was the
plan?
Yeah,
so a bit of background real quick. So I purchased this property in 2015, right. December 2015. It was a bit of a I think the market back then was a bit of the peak in Melbourne, and it's in the southeast suburb in Kew East, and it is a block of 4 units. So the intention was back then was to hold there for a few years, and at the same time start thinking about what we want to do to sort of create that equity within that property. Now, it's a big, block. So it's 850 square meters land size. There are 4 existing units there, or strata title. Now, I thought about 3, options in terms of how I'm gonna increase the value of that property, and that's what I need your help with. Number 1 was to build 2 extra units at the back. So at the moment, we've got 4. if I build 2 more, will be 6. So actually, I've gone through the cuts to get that approved. In the first instance, that got rejected, but then through the cuts that got approved. So I've got an approval in place to build 2 extra units at the back. Okay. Second option is to simply renovate what the existing units. I think, there's sort of, old units. So, and I'm getting about anything between 320 and 350 per week for each one of them. I think renovation will obviously, I'm hoping that it could, help increase the rental there, the yield. And third option is to knock it down, the whole thing, and rebuild 2 side by side houses. So these are the 3 options that I've got on the table. Obviously, with the current situation, it's sort of like, very hard to understand what the best option is, because I'm looking at rebuild eventually, but then it's hard to estimate that value in 12, 18 months time. So at the end, the completion, how much is going to be worth. Building 2 more at the back, yeah, could be a good idea. But again, is it really the best option that I have? And then finally, the renovation, which again could be good, but I haven't done renovations before. I find it very difficult to understand what the final sort of value could possibly be.
Right. So tell me, where are you in your property investing journey at the moment? Like, is this like the one addition that's going to add the retirement income, or why did you buy this and how's it fit in?
Yeah, it was a sort of different strategy for this one, in terms of, I feel like, okay, I'll buy the whole block and I can manufacture there some equity by developing, by renovating, by building more units on that piece of land. So that was the strategy. I've got a decent size portfolio. I've got more than 15, 16 properties. We've got a development in flight, so it's progressing. Essentially, we're building 3 townhouses. Right. Then we've got a few units. We've got a few houses, and then we've got that, these block of 4 units. Yeah, so that's what I am. But look, the strategy there is either to increase the rental yield or massively increase my equity in there. But I guess by renovating it, you increase your rental yield as well as your equity.
Okay. And is it so the build the 2 at the back and keep, is that for like a 10, 15 year time frame, or is that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Okay. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, okay. Absolutely. Yes, right. That's a great question. Thanks to Jane for asking. To say, if I were to build those 2 units, it will be more for sort of 10, 15, 20s. Yes.
And the renovation is just to increase the yield and keep for the same period, or?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, good.
Yes.
All right. And tell me, so obviously you've been to VCAT, you've got to be experienced, you've got a number of properties, you've got a development on the go, you've got houses, you've got units, not new to any of this. But when you're thinking about this property in particular, what are your concerns on each of the strategies? Why are you kind of, don't know?
Well, because if I were to knock it down and rebuild, I'm probably going to have to sell one or both of them, because it's, I'm looking at completion value of around, 6 mil plus. So I don't want to be exposed to that sort of, kind of risk, because it's a, huge amount of money, especially in this market. Am I going to be able to find a buyer for that, price? And
tell me, how many, if you did knock down and rebuild, just how many properties are you going to put onto that same block?
I will love to. 2 will be 2 side by side.
Houses.
Yes.
All right. and these are obviously high end, you know, median house
Yes.
price in Q East is like 2 million plus.
Yeah.
But the block size that you've got 840 at the moment.
A 50 square meters. Yes.
850. So you've been to council. The building at the back you've got approved for the 2 new ones.
Yeah.
Would you be able to get this 2 on the 850? That's approved by council, not approved, but possible.
Yeah, so yes, it is possible. So we've gone through council again with my town planner to sort of like a pre-submission,
Yep.
just to find out whether they're supportive.
Yep.
They are supportive. There are some limitations, such as you know, they don't want that side by side, but they want that one at the back, which it might potentially impact the price. But yeah, some people like a bit more privacy, so they don't mind it. But you know, that's hard to determine. But side by side will be more appealing for sure.
Okay, cool. All right, and renovation. You've had renovation experience before, or managed people who?
We had small ones, 2 houses we bought in 2013. We've renovated a little bit. It wasn't a great experience, if I'm being really honest, but because I think that, you know, the time frame was sort of way too long. You know, my expectations were, you know, different in terms of completing it. But anyway, so we've done a couple.
And when you say it wasn't a great experience, was it being there to let builders in at 7 a.m. or was it choosing things, or was it the price
It was
disparity wasn't there and you didn't get the result?
Yeah, exactly. So it was a bit of everything, if I'm being honest. So I was told like 6 weeks, and then he ended up being like a couple of months and longer. I was told, you know, 30 grand, and then it was, you know, 60. You know what I mean? So
okay, so big changes to expectations. And with the developing, you're doing a development at the moment.
Yeah.
So you're across feasibility studies and
absolutely 100%.
Okay,
That's the only thing that I'm decent at in terms of numbers.
Yeah.
That I'm pretty good at in terms of understanding, you know, we need to put a kitchen with that, you know, specific, you know, bench top rather than something else. That's what I struggle with.
And with the build the 2 at the back or do the complete rebuild, knockdown rebuild, you've got a team of people who would run that for you. You're comfortable, like unlike the renovation, you're comfortable with the team you could put in place and you're comfortable with that.
That's right. So I've got a town planner, the architects, the builders, you know, the traffic engineer, land surveyor, and all that. Yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah. Very advanced. All right. So I'm just going to step back for a moment before I jump in and do some analysis on the area and the appetite and the people and what we can expect. So you personally have built up a large portfolio. Is this what you do for a living now, or do you have like the day job?
No, I've got a day job.
Right.
And I'm in finance. But you know, since 2012, 2013, we decided to look at properties. So since then, we've, you know, purchased quite a few.
Okay, perfect. And is this, it's going to sound a bit weird, but is this in your blood? Is this kind of like a bit of a hobby now, excitement? Like, do you need to do the next one, or is it you actually looking for good opportunities is what I'm trying to work out?
No, I'm looking at it as, you know, part of my business. So I spend quite a bit of time. I look into numbers. I look at statements pretty much every day. I look at feasibility, maybe a little bit too much. I look at all the stuff. Absolutely. I look at opportunities, you know, in the market. I look at anything, webinars, your webinars and all that, all of it. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. But I've got a day-to-day job as well.
Okay. So, and if I look at a fourth option, which is do nothing, what's that look like?
It looks okay, but it looks okay. It's a neutral now because the interest rates are so low. That made it, you know, the property neutral, but that wasn't the strategy that I was, you know, going for. Exactly. I think there's a lot of stuff that I could possibly do there. You know, the big houses, the big units, they're about, you know, 100 square meters each.
Wow.
So, I could add a third bedroom, or that I'm sure I can do something. I just it's sort of
you're lost for choice.
yeah. I just want to make sure that I made the right choice, and I don't want to keep on waiting too long. So yeah.
And the reason I ask those questions is often I speak to people and they've made a commitment to a property, and there's almost like a grieving period of going, got it wrong, wasn't really what I thought it was going to be, didn't really stack up, I've got to let it go, or do I keep throwing some money at it? And when my brother-in-law says to me, how's that place going, I can go, mate, it's on track. So sometimes there's that kind of something going around a property. And then sometimes there's also the opportunity to do so many things. It's such a fortunate position to be in where you are at the moment. It's like, where am I going to put my time, my money, and my resources in the future? And are these decisions going to increase the ability for me to get to my goal? So being very clear on what that goal is.
Yes.
Or is it going to actually blindside me when there's something else in my portfolio I could be doing, or some other opportunity? So that's the kind of big picture that you would normally have a look at. How's this fit into the portfolio and your end goals, so that we can be very comfortable with the fact that any one of these decisions is going to not kind of affect the others. So very exciting. So let's jump in. I'm going to share my screen. I think the most important thing that we really need to look at here is just get to know the area. So now, is this your first investment in Q East?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So let's just get to, now, once again, this is 2016 data. So we've got the 3-bedroom house. We've got mum, dad with kids, that are the most prevalent populace there. 40-year-olds, we've got the tram, nice and close to the city. Number of houses, number of semis, number of units. So this is, the reason I look at this is that I'm just trying to gauge what the appetite is for the units. And, we've kind of got, whatever that is, 300 by 250. So, fifth kind of the population there are in units. We've got the median house price is obviously very high. The house growth has been fantastic. We've got a high income, very low public housing. And this is interesting here, is the percentage of renters that we're looking at, 23.4, and the vacancy rate. Now, when I look at vacancy rates, I'm usually trying to look at below 3%, which means that there's more people looking than properties on the market. And vacancy rate from SQM research represents houses and units. So we know everything's together. And often when I see the vacancy rates going upwards, the 2.5, 3 in Sydney, 4%, it's usually because there's a lot of units there and the supply hasn't been taken up with demand. But what we're seeing here is it's actually quite a high vacancy rate for Melbourne. And we know that, we're recording this in July 2020. We've just had the second Melbourne lockdown announced. People might be watching this on recording going, I don't even remember the lockdown. They're so far in advance. Or they could be going, well, we're up to our 10th lockdown now. So we don't know what the future holds. So we do know, though, that we're going to, for the short term, have low overseas immigration, which drives a lot of the uptake of the units. So we are seeing that, and we're then going to expect to see some of these vacancy rates go up, but it depends on the type of unit. So let's have a look at that. And I was speaking to someone yesterday who is a construction expert in the unit space in Sydney, and he was saying that, in New South Wales or in Sydney alone, in the next couple of years, you'd be very brave if you bought anything over a 3-story block of units, because of the fact that there has been so many construction issues as well. So I'm assuming these are old units when we have a look at them. Older style, yeah. Okay, so this gives us a little bit of a rundown of that area. I just want to jump over to the census data. So I'm just jumping straight into census, looking at the Q East area as well, because sometimes where we get, the 3-bedroom house as the most typical population demand for what we're after, and we're talking about minimizing risk here. Like, you might have a 15 to 20-year game plan on your portfolio. So we want to make sure that you don't have long periods of vacancies.
Right.
So separate house is 66%. So the townhouse is actually up at 22%. So this gives us a little bit of confidence around that rebuild opportunity. The number 3 option, which is knock down, rebuild, and put a couple of townhouses on.
Mm-hmm.
And the units are only 10%. So we know it's a small amount of the population in 2016 that were demanding this area. Most wanted 3 bedrooms or more. So this gives us a little bit of a indication that, you know, there is appetite for the townhouses and potentially, but those units that are there, would be interesting to see if we could actually, you know, have a look through and see what the units vacancy rates were, because sometimes when there's not that many there and then the nice older deco or, you know, older style units with and close to town and trams, there's a demand for them. You know, it's being able to look at that and maybe converting those into a 3 bedroom could be on the cards. So let's just consider that for the moment and see, because most of these are 2 bedrooms, right? That you make into 3 bedrooms.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm just going to jump over to RP data now. I'm going to put in Q East, and I just want to get, actually, what am I, I just want to get a feel for the recent sales that have been going on with 2 to 3 bedroom properties, so that I can just see what's kind of going through. So 29 sales of 2 to 3 bedroom properties in the last 6 months. So we know that, you know, March, April, May, June, it was quiet in Melbourne.
Yeah.
So we know that this is atypical, because when we have a look over the suburb selector software, we've got average sold houses per year is 86. So, you know, we're looking, this is kind of on the mark, I guess, around that 4-ish a month. So we've got houses here that are selling. So this is probably a townhouse that we're looking at, 3 bedroom townhouse. A house 780, so that townhouse was what, 500 square meters, a unit around 645, house unit, so high-end units, 3 bedroom. Okay, so this gives us a little picture of what is selling at the moment. When was the block built?
1960s.
Okay, yep, so older style. And when you bought it,
Yes.
I imagine when you bought it, because it was already strata titled?
That's right, it was already, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so the only townhouse kind of sale that I can see here is really this one on, no, where'd you go? This one here on 500 square meters at the 1.9. Now, you thought with the townhouse that we'd be looking at a 6 mil all up, like 3 mil each. Is that right?
Yeah, it has to be at least north of 2.8, 3 mil each, and we've got a sketch from the architect. It will be around 38 squares each, 38 to 40 squares each. So if I look at some of the, you know, direct comparables, I can see they sold for like over 3 mil, 3.2.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right. So the most recent comparables obviously aren't showing that. So what I'm seeing here in this little townhouse, it looks to me like it's in a what have we got there? 1, 2, 3 bedrooms. I've just glimpsed. It looks like it's in like a townhouse-ish development, but it's almost like a standalone house. Like these two. This looks to make it's been subdivided rather than the townhouse. But this only sold for 1.9 on a bigger block of land.
Yeah.
So we just need to be mindful of that price point. So doing the analysis on that comparable sales, you've definitely seen the townhouses selling to the with the same size block, so 420. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm looking at, for example, just to give you an idea, so the one opposite to mine, he built two side by side houses. They sold for 2.2 each. However, that was a few years ago, but also they're much smaller than what I'm planning to build. So that's really opposite to mine. So 42 Westbrook Street.
Could throw us if nothing comes up here. All right, let me do a workaround. So we never give up here, Giuseppe. Let's see what we've got going on. So if I go into Q East and then I go into the streets and I say bring up Westbrook Street, and it's going to bring up, oh, it's only brought up 2.
Is it the sales or?
Oh yeah, you're right. Lucky you're on top of this. Should be borrowing your brain. Okay, let me try that again too. 22 West. Fabulous. Okay.
There you go. Yeah.
Nicer, older style block. All right. So what I want to do here is just have a look at what you're talking about across the road.
Yeah.
Street view is loading. Gotta be honest, I'm not a very patient person. Okay, so this is, they've knocked this over and put 2 houses on here.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. And why do you think they could do what they did and sell for 2.2 and you could sell for 283?
Oh, because this one is one level. In terms of size, it's pretty small. Mine will be 2 stories, and therefore will be much bigger.
Yep.
And you know, that's the initial assumption. Yeah, that's exactly the one.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. That's the one.
And this one over here?
Yes.
That's it. Okay.
Yes. That's exactly opposite to mine.
Okay, so it's this here.
That's one. Yeah, the two townhouses there.
Just have a look and see if any sale prices come up. Okay, let's just see what's been selling in the area. So we've got this on 450, 3-bedroom, it sold for 1.8. We've got 2.29 on 3-bedroom, 900 in March. We've got 800 at 2.2, 2.01, 1.18, 68. Okay, so this one's a 2-bedroom on 370. So there's nothing that looks directly comparable. Have you seen some townhouses here that have?
Yes.
Okay.
The comparables that I'm using is more like sort of high end. So will be at least 35, 38 squares.
Okay.
They are very like high end for that type of houses. They all sold for, you know, over 3 mil.
Okay.
That's the sort of thing that I'm trying to replicate.
All right, got it. Okay, and let me just, so from a townhouse point of view, what is the build going to be on those, the build costs?
So it will be high end, so it will be around, will be probably 800,000 each, all in. So no basement. There won't be a basement there because I think basements are way too expensive, too complex and all that, but it will be 1.6. I pay 2.3
Mm-hmm.
plus stamp duty. So so that's what I'm saying. Yep, I have to look at at least 2.83 mil resale value each in order for me to get a decent return.
Okay, and that's 800. Is that going to account in all of your team and all of the works and council and?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so all right. So if we said you bought it 2.3 and your development costs are 1.6, we get to 3.9.
Yep.
And so that would be a 2 mil cost. Like, if you're going to get out of this without losing money, 2 million is the kind of baseline relief, but you're thinking you're going to get 3 million.
No, well, I don't think I'm going to get 3. What I'm trying to say is I'm working backwards. So
right.
I'm looking at, so if I wanted to hit the 3 million mark, what I need to do in order to achieve that. And in order to achieve that, I need to spend at least 800,000, which will build a high-end house, which could potentially sell for 3.
Okay, and if you sell it for 3, you're making $2 million. Is that right?
Well, pre-tax, bank, all that
advertising and marketing and staging and
Yes.
Okay, so there's a lot of fat in it.
Yes, you're absolutely right. But at the same time, the more fats in it, the riskier it is at the same time. So that's what I'm kind of thinking. I'm just gonna go not down a rebuild, or why not like renovating, adding like a 3rd bedroom in each one of them.
If I think about the townhouse, and the co-creator of the Ultimate Guide to Renovation, John Hubbard, did a couple of these developments in that area. So without having any skills or knowledge of my own, I'm stealing some of his. Some of the interesting things that I've seen and heard anecdotally while he was doing this, and he's done it twice, which is the knockdown and build very high-end, sell over mill kind of thing, is that the real estate agents that they engaged actually said that the people who bought these high-end townhouses came from within 500 meters, and they were downgrading. So older people that were downgrading, and hence the design was for that. There was some lifts in some of them. There was all of that kind of stuff. But that high-end purchase price, if we think about it, is actually really comparable to the median price for a house. So why would someone buy a high-end townhouse for the same price of a house with more land? And it's convenience, it's the downgrading. It's because they sold their house for $4 million to get to the, what they're buying now, and having no maintenance, no problems, and the convenience. So there is a market. And when we looked at that, we did see that 22% of the market are open to townhouses. And if I just jump back quickly and have a look at the census data, let's just have a look at some of the age. Well, it was kind of older as a 40 median age. But if we start looking at, these kind of downsizing 60-ish, which would have been 50 back in, 2016, I'm not seeing that it's a lot different to the rest of Victoria and Australia. So it's not like, there's 6% 55 to 59-year-olds in Q East, and there's 4% in the rest of Victoria. So what we can do is assume that from an age group point of view, will there be the demand for that high end? And I think that just looking over, and it's hard looking over the last 6 to 12 months of kind of comparable sales just in the area, because if the only comparable sales we can really kind of look at is the ones across the road that sold for like 2.2,
yeah,
2.2, and then you're going to add a level onto it. Is a level going to be worth another 800,000? And if I'm going to if I'm going to look at just the numbers of the now and historical, I look at it and I go, I know there's a market for it, but I know it's niche. So it's going to be, you've got to find the right people at the right time. Are there people out there going, I love this area, there's this is where my whole family grew up, this is where I am, this is my communities, this is where I want to be, I'm close to town, I can pop into the club in town or whatever it is that they do, and this is where I'm going to stay. Yes, there is, because there's like way more people, 22%, than 10% who want units, right? So we know that there's a demand for it. Is it, what I would do if I was you is I would definitely go and do some more comparative analysis on the high end townhouses and speak to the real estate agents and see what the appetite is now. Because if we take off the long-term kind of thinking of the past and the future, and we go to, we're in COVID-19 and there's going to be some decisions made by people in this period of time that aren't the norm, and we can only but be hypothetical about them. So hypothetically, do I want to have a home that is my sanctuary and I feel safer and I have the convenience of, if I'm in lockdown, I've got everything that I want there and all the luxury that I don't have to go anywhere, and I've got my broadcasting room and I've got my little garden spot, and I'm close to town, but I can shut the house down if I need to and just have like the receiving room that people come into, where the public can come to and friends come to, but the rest of the house is kind of like mine. Is this going to be a new mindset? Are people going to be remote working? Are people going to say, well, I don't have to go into work. For $2 million or $3 million, I could have a farm in Dalesford and work, or I could have a townhouse in Kew East. So I think we need to put on some of that thinking, and then we put on this potential aged cashed up group. Now, the potential aged cashed up group, I don't think are going to be making the tree change or sea change, and they might be looking at something like this, because I know, when John did the demographics on it, that for this area, he definitely, there was definitely the niche, but there was always the worry of what's the market going to do and what's going to happen. But let's think of these 55 to 65-year-olds, and at the moment, their shares have had a slogging, and they're like, oh God, what have I done? Their home, they're reading every day in the paper, is coming down in value, and they're like, oh God, am I going to be stuck with my biggest asset now losing as much money as my shares have lost? Are they going to be looking at going, gosh, maybe I need to bring my retirement plans of my home forward a few years, and would I like to have this townhouse that could do this for me? And I think all of those things should be on the table, because I think they're all relevant. But it is, what I'm not having the confidence about is that, are people going to spend over the median price of the house to buy a new luxe townhouse? And if they are, what's the risk? And the risk is, it's not a predominant part of the market, and you're really hope and dreaming that this is going to happen. So for me, I'm looking at that going, this seems to me to be a bit of a risk.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly.
So, how's that sit with you?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That 100% agree. Because the thing is, if we were in a sort of normal, the pre-COVID, I would go, let's go for it, knock it down and rebuild. But now there is so uncertainty around, 12, 18 down the line, that it's really, I can make all the assumptions, that which I have. I've done it, but you have got that element of unknown that stops you from thinking, okay, well, your assumptions are as good as mine. Because unfortunately, we don't know what's going to happen, how it's going to shape, the COVID's going to shape the whole property industry. So that's why I'm a little bit concerned. So, okay.
And you're in finance, and like me, we're seeing people reacting emotionally.
Absolutely.
So, but I don't doubt that 18 months to 2 years out, it is going to be euphoric. People are going to be back in the market. This is your build time. So this could be a perfect time to then put these things on the market. And at that time, here's the little, complete twist to it. I think that what we're going to see is we're going to see the people from Hong Kong and Asia, etc., going, where is the safe haven? Australia's an island. They kind of looked after it okay. The second choice is always Canada. Australia, Canada. There may well be cashed up people who come in going 2.2 million. Is this all I get in QEs? 3 million. Yeehaw, bring it on. So I think there is opportunity. And I want to keep this on the table before we go to the other options.
Yeah.
I think there's opportunity, but I think just from what we've seen of forget COVID, it does to me still feel like it needs a lot more analysis on the comparable sales and testing that market, because I'm not convinced, it's got a lot of fat in it for you to be able to make money and come back on your expectations on what you can sell the properties at. Like, let's face it, if you sell the properties at 2.5, you're still ahead by $1 million, right? So you could come back, and if they for some reason the market drops and the 2.2 across the road becomes your number, you're still making some money, but you've just spent 18 2-3 years of your life getting this done. So forget COVID. If we go up in the bad time and we come back down and now we're back up again, that's your time frame of buying, developing, getting it ready, and then selling. So let's just forget that happens. But I still think that the market is going to have to be really changed, and you're going to have to see some real big comparables at that 2.5 to 3 million for you to be confidently going, I'm going to commit all my time and resources to this for the next 2 years. Yeah. So let's have a look at the unit market and get a bit of a feel for that. So does that sits okay with you?
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect.
Thank you.
All right. So let's have a look at the unit. So now we have this opportunity. So if you remember, we were at 10% of the market was units. And this is kind of interesting as well, in the sense that, where are we? This is just, I'm just looking at the people. Most people want a car park, 57%, but a lot of people getting the bus and tram, which is good to see. Mum, dad with kids, we know is prevalent. Not very many families, but there is like a good proportion of couples. So you've already rented these properties out. Tell me what your tenants are like. Can you give me a little demographic of your tenants?
They're very young, like young families, 1 or 2 kids, but it's sort of, say between 35 and 45, kind of couples with 1 or 2 kids. So yeah, usually they've got a kids going to the local school in QEs,
One of the other things that I'm just looking at here is the age group. So the fact that you've got 2-bedroom units with mum, dad and kids in the 2-bedroom units is kind of interesting. One of the things that the RP Data app does that the computer doesn't is it actually gives you the catchment zones for the schools. So I don't know if you can see this. So what I'm just doing is I'm pulling up RP Data on the phone. So for some reason, it's a whole different, it's the same data set, but they give you more information.
Right.
So I've got here, like, it's just telling me what the schools are in the area and nearby, which is always really handy. So we've actually got Q East Primary and Q High School. So they're both government, they're both mixed, 470 kids at the primary, which is a good healthy number, and 1,100 at the Q High School. So it'd be interesting just to get onto I would be of interest to just get onto MyGov and just find out what that school ranking is, if there's like a demand for that, because I'm seeing lots, you know, compared to the rest of Victoria and Australia, there's a lot of 5 to 9 year olds. There's a lot to 10 to 14 year olds. Now this data is 4 years old. So this, you know, add 4 years to this. There's a lot of people with kids in this area that I'm picking up with as well. So let's just have a look at the units themselves. Let's see if they're going to show us anything. No, not for that one. And get a feel for what they look like. So you've got approval for the 2 extra out the back.
That's right.
And I'm just going to do a couple of things. So, and they're renting for $320 to $350.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Not showing a lot of photos when you're renting these out, Giuseppe.
Oh, really? That's weird. I've got a bunch of photos.
Oh, here we go. This unit's got one.
Yeah.
Let's have a look. All right. So nice, light, looks like a newish carpet, standard kind of old style 60s kitchen. Nothing changed since then?
No, I haven't done anything yet, really.
Oh my goodness, I feel like I'm back at boarding school.
I know. Yeah.
So toilet, shower, and I gather that's a bath as well?
That's right. Yeah.
Yep. All right, which is always very, you find in areas with lots of kids. So that kind of bath, younger children, is always attractive to parents. And tell me about your thoughts on the build out the back. So those would be 3 bedroom?
No, so we had applied for 2 beds, but they rejected, so we can only get 1 bed. Yeah, they're still a decent size. I think they're still about 70 to 80 square meters each, but it's 1 bed. So 1 bed and 1, study.
And how much is the build on those?
I've been quoted about 5 to 550,000
each.
No, both of them.
Okay.
So just below.
The median's around that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So this is a little bit. We've got the full wall here between the toilet.
Yeah.
Okay, and nice little outlook. Okay, so we've got that. Now, I just want to have a look here at the suburb report. Whilst I pull that up with my multi-skilling. So I'm also looking at Q East. Download that, save, and Q East. Now I'm just going to go to this rental yield 3-month report, which is the easiest way they can kind of find out what's on the market and what's been on the market. So I am seeing, I'm just trying to test to see what the appetite for 1-bedroom properties is. So in the last 3 months, there has been around about 26 listings, of which 2 have been 1-bedrooms. And if I go and have a look at because I just want to get a feel for what is happening here. All right, so up here, I'm just going to be looking at units, not houses. And I want to see what these kind of look like. Little 1-bedroom, smallish, oldish. And what would you think the rent would be on these?
I would say around 400 per week.
Okay. All right, so let's just have a look at what's happening in Q East. So units, new listings. So the unit value is 860. And if we come down here and have a look at units. Okay, so we've got a bit of a range there on units. This is interesting. Okay, I am definitely not feeling the groove of a one-bedroom unit appetite. I'm not seeing listings. Mum, dad, and a kid is what we know is, you know, prevalent.
Yeah.
The build cost at 550 seems cheap to get something. What's that going to be? So if I do a calculation, let's say 225, really, isn't it? If I do a 400 a week rent, the cash flow on it is going to be insane yield.
Yeah.
So from a point of view of, you know, a cash flow position, you're looking at a 9% yield.
Exactly. Yes.
Which is really, really attractive.
Yeah.
And that alone could allow you to, if I think about the build potential, that alone can allow you to weather some vacancy rates, etc. And so if I look at non-COVID kind of situation, I'm looking at the fact that, tell me, when you take up the space at the back, is there parking as well included for those?
Yeah, it is.
And does it take away from the other units' active areas that they're using? No. So there's something, okay, good. So it's not like we're detracting from those units.
No, not at all, no.
And they could be strated and sold separately?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the thing. That's why it makes me think, I agree with you, the one-bed unit are not very attractive in the area, I think. But the yield is, you know, big enough to eventually cover for, you know, vacancies, prolonged vacancies there.
I think, I'm just going to make a big call here. So I just want to, before I do it, I'm going to substantiate it with some numbers. So let's just have a look at the one-bedroom units. There's 3,360 properties in Kew, and there's only 10 one-bedroom units. So you are a trailblazer, definitely. So we can't imagine that we're ever going to see any information. Sales history, oh God, let's think 2018 maybe. Just try to get something to have a look at what they look like if they've ever sold. Okay, so there's one. So getting a comparable on this is just going to be a hope and dream kind of stuff. I don't even think we're not going to, you know, we don't even have photos of the properties. So this is the thing that I'm wondering about when I look at U 42 West Brook Street, Q. I did it again. Tell me about your proximity to public transport.
It's pretty close. I've done it a couple of times. I actually walked to the transport. Can't remember the top of my head, but it's not that far.
Is that 400 meters to High Street, and the trams are on High Street? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, that gives me a bit more confidence. Alrighty. Okay, so I'm telling you, before I move on to option 2, I'm just going to park option 1 for the moment. I don't know how to stop this now. What have I done? So before I move on to option 2, what I'm thinking about here, when I'm thinking 1-bedroom units for the area, it's nice and leafy. It's not like there's up, there's up the up-level townhouses, there's homes. I guess this is a little block of units down here in the corner, is it? Behind there.
Yeah.
Yeah. See if I can sneak in and have a look from behind. Yeah, little block of units. Okay, so there's units around as well. And it's a real little mixed, I mean, it's definitely homes we can see are the most prevalent. All right, so this is my thoughts on the 1-bedroom unit. This is my kind of no COVID involved. I look at the townhouses and I'm like, oh, can I really think that he's going to get 3 million for those? If I brought it back to, 2.5, he's going to make $1 million. It's going to take him 2 years. Okay, there's a bit of a worry about the demographics and the niche and the marketing, and I think there'll be some sleepless nights. And I look at the units and I'm thinking he can build these for 225. There is no market for 1-bedroom units at all in Kew, but they're close to town. They're in a nice leafy area. It's a family area. There are some single parent areas that people demographics that we saw. How far away from the schools and things are they?
It's not far. You can actually walk to the school. It's probably 7 minutes away.
Okay, so all of that's close. But if you could think about 225 build.
It's not 225, 275 because the bill is 550 total. Okay. So yeah. But anyway, it doesn't change.
I'm not obviously good with numbers there. 275 build. And I'm looking at that and I'm looking at the lowest priced 1-bedroom in over the last 3 years was 600,000. It doesn't look too fancy. If we brought that down to 500, there's almost the 500, 550. There's almost the opportunity there. I'm seeing of you making $500,000 compared to the potential 1 million of townhouses with less time and potentially less risk, because there'd be more people open. We're talking first home buyers. Who knows what schemes that are going to come in. So I'm not as concerned with that strategy as I am with the townhouse strategy for half of the profit potential. Yeah. But I still think that we need to put in perspective the fact that there's no market there. You're creating the market. It might create a huge demand and all of a sudden there's heaps of people who want to buy it off you and you could make some quick money off it. Or you sit back and you go, I've got a 9% yield here. And there's always going to be the small group in any market that are going to need that niche, different type of property. So that 1-bedroom could have some legs to it. Yeah. So let's take the next option and have a look. Final option, except for do nothing. And that is this kind of renovation potential. Yeah. So your thoughts on this? So at the moment, so each unit has cost you approximately, what's that? $575 each?
That's right. Yeah.
All right. And if we have a look at this report, this is, we know that, what do we know? We don't know anything at this stage. Let me just have a look. We know from our units that are available, 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms on the market at the moment. And if I just go back to that report, I might just see. $21 2 bedrooms. So 2 bedrooms are actually the most prevalent in the last 3 months. 21 listings. And when we had a look at the suburb overall, 24% of people wanted 2 bedrooms, 40% wanted 3 bedrooms. Tell me about this floor plan and how easy it is for you to make a 3-bedroom without compromising the lot. Is there 2 living spaces? What's going on?
So what we thought is we could potentially add 1 more bedroom where the roof is. So to the 2 units on the first floor, on the first level, so we can potentially make room for the 3rd bedroom there.
Okay. And so you'd end up with the two bedrooms downstairs.
Yeah. Well, I don't think we get. Well, I don't know. The answer is I don't know whether we can add a 3rd bedroom to that. I don't know. We didn't really. I couldn't really get anyone to sort of look into it and help in terms of say, yes, it could be done or it cannot be done. I don't have that.
Okay. So
Yeah.
let's just have a look at, because my gut feel is the demand seems to be around that 2-bedroom market, and I think there is a large amount of younger kids, so I would have thought a 2 or a 3-bedroom might be more typical. So 3,360 properties and 965 units, and let's just have a look at these units. I just want to look at 2 to 3 bedrooms. Okay, so it's nicely rendered on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
This is more like a subdivision, high-end build, new build. Have you seen many units that have been renovated?
No, but I've seen units they like sort of new units, which are going for a lot of money.
So I would suggest that if I did like a comparable age build, this block would be something similar. Yeah. And this is definitely a nice reno. They've got the nice fixtures and fittings and everything. Still, it's always a trouble getting rid of that stucco ceilings, but they're horrible. Okay, so this is really nice. I mean, if you have a look at 2007, let's just see what we know. So sometimes we can see what they look like beforehand. So this sold for 600. 620 in the end sold for. So this type of renovation, kitchen, bathroom, floor, I mean, they kept the original floor here, and it looks like, maybe this looks like a broken cabinet, but, they've done a nice job on the living spaces.
Yeah, that was very nice, yeah.
You've done some kind of renovation. My gut feel with this would be that you'd probably drop 10, 20, 30 to 40,000 on this.
Oh, really? Okay.
Because I'm thinking the bathrooms are small, but are always going to cost you more than you think. But see, this looks like an older bathroom. It's almost been painted or something. See, this hasn't been done, this bathroom. So see, it's the old bath. So all they've done is the living spaces. So they've painted this up and cleaned it up a little bit and made it nicer, but it's not done. So I would put like 6 to 8 grand down for a bathroom. I would put in the kitchen. So the kitchen is nicely done as well. So in the kitchen, I'd be putting down, and still this is kind of older kind of tile. So you can see how they've done like the older update, but the clean white look is done well. I'd put down maybe 10 for like a new nice kitchen. If you're thinking like even the dishwasher, ovens, and cooktops, etc., that's 2.5 grand alone. So bringing your electricians, your plumbers and things, I think 10 would be good. So these guys have actually done an older update, and they've done it really nicely. The floorboards, depending on whether you're in your bottom floor or top floor, you know, it might just be some sanding, etc. But the painting job's probably going to cost them around about $4,000. You're probably going to drop, you know, $1 to $2,000 just on the window treatments and door handles and all of those kind of things. So we're at 24. Yeah. So you could possibly get out of, and this is, you know, nice carpet. You'd probably do another 10. So maybe 25 to 30. And if I added, let's just say 25 onto your 575, that gets us to 600, which is this.
Yeah. So Jane, the bank valuation that came in just a couple of days ago for these ones, it came in at 650.
Right.
So I'm thinking with a, you know, 35 grand renovation might be able to go over 700 grand.
Yeah. So let's just see what this looks like. I just wanted to... Okay, so this is a 2-bedroom on strata unit. So it's a strata unit. So it's a 2-bedroom strata unit. So let's just have a little look at this one, because this one might have, I don't know what this sold for. So 2005, this is what the kitchen looked like. Okay, so let's see what they've done. And we should be clicking over to oh wow, looks like it's an eastern suburb of Sydney. All right, and here we are, 2020. Okay, so we've got air conditioning, we've got painted floorboards, we've got painted inside laundry, nice clean fixtures and fittings. So this one has been, they did the bathroom, but they didn't do the kitchen. A bit unusual. Okay, so this one here, we haven't got a price point on, but I keep coming back to that here, the median unit price is $957. And if the typical unit is the 2-bedroom, which what we've seen, and you're still below this 733, I need to be able to be convinced there's capacity for pricing disparity. So if we're at 650 now, and we're talking about a $30,000 renovation, then what I want to be doing is I want to go 650 plus my $30,000 renovation, which is going to do everything. Air conditioning, we're going to get everything for that. But I want to add $2 for every dollar. So I want to add an extra 30 grand and say, I want to see that there's evidence of units selling at 710.
Yeah.
Now, I can't see that really quickly here, but what I can see is that, you know, these guys have taken a 12-month period and said the median unit price is this, and we know it's skewed by some of these really big units that are coming through at 1.9. But still, the lower 25% is still at 730, which is below this number.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I would then want to see is, okay, so if I'm thinking that you with a 30 max per unit, and because you've got 4 units and they're tenanted, you're going to have to weigh up the fact that you're going to get, you know, rid of $1,500 a week essentially for, well, you know the deal, 6 weeks, 6 weeks while they do it. So, you know, if you either kick everyone out and do the renovation and add the value, but it'd be interesting to then see what those units are actually going to be able to rent for. So if we then had a look at the units and we looked at what the 2-bedroom units are currently renting for, we've got a few here. So 440, got one over here at 5. So that's a brand new build. 440. Ooh, we were just in Clyde Street looking, weren't we? So look what that looks like. Yeah, so this has just been a rendered.
That could be a good comparable.
Yeah. So, you know, they haven't really done anything fancy. I don't even know what they've done to the grass there. it looks a bit newer than your one. 420 here. So this is kind of what you're getting at the moment.
Yeah.
So we got 6 photos. Show us your photos. Okay, so what I'm thinking here is that we've definitely got the ability to look at this unit. So this is like the older style unit that we're looking at here. This is the older style, and they're already quoting that they want, 320, 380. So this is kind of in the market you are currently in. So it's not like we're seeing like really high-end properties that are renting a lot lower, because I'm looking at this going, I think the build and the headache and the pain of going to a 3-bedroom in the top units is just going to be a lot of headache for having to bring the whole building up to deserve to have a 3-bedroom unit at 900,000 instead of rendering the front and all of that work as well. So I think that is what we're going to be looking at there. This 415 unit at the moment, it's just a standard nice little bathroom. It's got the floorboards, it's got a standard nice little kind of almost IKEA kitchen, and it's going to 415. So if you could do let me just bring the screen back. I'm thinking here with the option of the renovation. I think the 3-bedroom unit, I'm not getting a lot of appetite for that in the rental market or the sale market. In the and I think it'll be headachy. You don't know if you can go up into the roof, etc. And I think to deserve like a 900 price point, you need to render. So I think it's a big job. So I want to take the 3 bedrooms out. If we put the 2-bedroom units up, there's 4 of them there. Can they be renovated? Yes. Do they deserve to be renovated? Yes. I'm seeing the pricing disparity there. I think going from 650, even up to that 710, that's getting you $2 back for every dollar. I reckon with efficiencies, that 30,000 per property that we kind of estimated could come down a lot further. So, you could definitely be looking at under $100,000 to renovate the lot of them. Where does that rent sit? You're probably going to get a rental uplift from the, let's say 380 highest to probably 450, $70 a week. So you're going to be adding on, maybe $300 extra a week, but you have the underlying assets that are renovated, tenants. If there's going to be some higher vacancies coming through, and we've already got the 2.6 vacancy there, it's probably going to make them more in demand to be rented. You've got, 400 meters walking to the tram. You've got, 7 minutes walking to the school. So good locations. So if I pull that all together, I'm like, like for 550, you could build 2 1-bedroom units out the back, have a really good yield of, a great yield against what they are. But you're probably looking, I think you're right in thinking that you could almost get $400 a week for those, because then they're separate. They give people some room and space. They're a bit unique. And you're only looking at 450 potentially to 475, let's say, to the new renovations. But what you've done is you've uplifted the value of that property, and it's cost you $100,000 to uplift the value. But you possibly, getting those units in that 730 to 750 price point, and you've actually uplifted the value of them by about $400,000.
Yeah.
So if I look at that and I'm thinking, well, if you had to sell a couple of those down, a renovated, nicely done unit for mum, dad, and the kid, or a first home buyer, that's kind of at the top end of a first home buyer market, whereas the 1-bedroom units would get the first home buyer unit market. But the bigger market, which I don't think is going to change through COVID, is going to be the mum, dad with the kids who are going to be living in that area. And, I think the renovation on that would be justifiable.
And I like that idea as well. Number one, because I've got equity that has been approved by the bank, which is ready to go. I can put that equity towards the renovation or purchase some more. But my put, that money into that renovation, which is great. That means it's ready to go. I don't need any council approval because I don't need to add any bedroom, extra bedroom whatsoever. So I just need to, and I'm happy with, 30, 35, even 40 grand per unit, if I'm being really honest, as long as he returns me, like you say 400 per week.
And I think the unit market in the future, people are going to look for the smaller blocks to buy. People are worried about all the design and building standard of the new stuff. It's 8Ks to town. It's a beautiful leafy area. It's family orientated. So you've got that kind of community feel. But what's really nice around that as well is that I would be, now I'm going to put the COVID-19 situation on, I would be protecting my rentals and assets. I wouldn't be kicking people out. I'd sit back comfortably going, when I decide to, I can rent that, I can renovate them. And I think you might get to I think you could probably come down to the 20-25 mark if you did them all at once per unit. But if you're doing one at a time, it might be up to the 30. And that's okay. So as people move out, you might just put your team in and do it. Because I'd protect my rental as much as I could now. So if that means if you've been approved by the bank, maybe we should have another borrow brain and see where you should buy. But I don't think I would be doing anything. And keep your, you fought through VCAT to get the units approved on the back. Keep that active.
Exactly.
It's part of your sale potential for the future.
That's right. Yeah.
So all in all, I think we've looked at the three strategies. We started at the riskiest, which was the townhouses, and there's a potential of $1 to $2 million gain there. It's losing the rent, obviously, knocked down over those properties for at least a year. What is the market and how are they going to buy this? And I think you're going to be in the good time period where people are going to be buying, but they're going to be buying at the same price point of the median house price there. And if it is a downsizer coming from within 500 square meters, you'd have to be very niche on your marketing, very niche on the design, maybe have the lift, all that kind of stuff. Sounds a bit too headachy and risky to me for the demographic that says only 10% of the population they want a townhouse.
Mm-hmm.
You look at the one bedroom unit, there's no market for it, there's no appetite for it, but I think it's a nice little asset to keep in your pocket for when you go to sell the block in the future with having that DA approved. And you don't know what could happen. It could be an asset for the future that you turn around and go, well, everyone's after the one bedroom. I don't want to live near anyone in the future. And you could do it in 4 or 5 years, all right? After you've done the renovation. I don't think the 3 bedroom units, there's demand for it. I think it'll be a whole lot more cost once again, council and all that stuff. The 2 bedroom, it's what the majority of the market want. You're creating something that's not too specced out. Don't go too luxe. You can see the comparables there. They've actually kind of just used standard, bathrooms and kitchens, or even upgraded the current ones to get to a good price point. So you could get $2 back for every dollar that you spend, but you don't need to rush into it.
Sorry, James, can I just clarify one thing? When you say the renovation cost is between 25, 35 grand each, that includes the labor?
Yes.
So it's all in. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So, and I don't think we're looking Caesar stone bench tops by any stretch. We're looking, we're looking nice design and, even like the aluminium splashback rather than, the fancy little tiles. But yes, that includes labor.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Good. So how do you feel about that assessment?
So much. No, I feel, look, this is probably the first session that I had over the past few years that makes a lot of sense to me. I find it extra helpful to be able to go through option by option, reason as to why drop one, keep it out of one, different perspective. Absolutely fantastic. I'm really impressed, if I'm being honest. But I really appreciate your time. That's fantastic.
Great.
Thanks so much for this.
Well, I'm glad it's helped you out because there was quite a few scenarios there, and it's sometimes it is confusing in looking through them all when you have so many options. But to me, it just comes back to the numbers. What's the market want? And we have to look at the short term and consider what's happening in the short term. But you're investing for 10, 15 years, so this is not something you should take lightly. So I'm so glad that I could help you out.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's all good. Cool.
No problem. Well, lovely talking to you, and I'm so glad that we could help you out. And thank you for your question, because I think it brings up some really interesting ways of looking at the demographics and applying them to developing or renovating as well. So really, thank you for sharing.
Thanks very much. Lovely talking to you. I'll speak to you
Okay,
soon.
bye-bye.
Thank you, Jane. Bye-bye.